to the interior of the camper van. We've got a couple of things that we need to show you just as we enter the van. One of them is this switch. This is for the water pump and the main lights of the van. We can turn the lights on and off from here, or we can turn them on and off from the control panel over on the other side of the van. So the main switch for the lights we can use when we enter the van. If you want to turn the lights on and off in the van, you can use this, so the switch on the main control panel. The pump, you can hear it running now, controls the tap. Just make sure that you don't leave that on when the tap's off. You will hear the pump running in the tank if you do this. The main area for cold water waste and cold water storage, fresh water, is here. I would suggest to you that you always empty the grey water or waste water at the same time as you replace the fresh water. There's a quick release coupling. You slide the sleeve back to release the pipe, and there's a plug for the 12-volt pump on the back of the cupboard. That's fairly straightforward to do. I would suggest you ask us when you come to pick up the van, just to show you that again, just so you're aware of how you replace and empty the wastewater. Shelves for storage. There's a dustpan and brush there if you need to use it. We've got the two large knives for your food preparation on the inside of that cupboard, and you've got the cleaning products if you need them to clean or wipe down any surfaces whilst you're using the van. Right. Within these drawers you've got all your utensils for cooking, fairly obvious, nice forks, spoons. You've also got a spark lighter, and this spark lighter can be used when you're not on electric hookup. The hob, when you're on electric hookup, will ignite automatically by pushing the button down, but it won't ignite automatically if you're not on hookup, so you have to use your manual spark lighter. Likewise, you've got mains plugs here for your kettle and toaster, which are stored in the overhead lockers. So there's a toaster there, and an electric kettle that you can use in the overhead lockers together with your pots and pans. The electric kettle obviously can only be used on hookup. If for some reason you're not on hookup, further back in the van there is a gas kettle which you can use as well, instead of the electric kettle if you're not on hookup. Gas isolation valves are here for the hob and the fridge. There's two because it's a three-way fridge, and the fridge will work on 12 volts only while you're travelling, 240 volts while you're on hookup, or if you don't have hookup, you can ignite the fridge and use the gas as a gas fridge. So there's three operating modes for the fridge. Do not leave the 12 volts to charge when you're parked up, otherwise it will just flatten your auxiliary battery. That's only to be used at 12 volt while you're actually driving in the van, because the alternator keeps the battery charged. So there's our overhead lockers with our plates. There's the gas kettle, the plates, cups and saucers, and all the other things that you might need to use when you're cooking are in the overhead cupboards. We've got tea, coffee and sugar and mugs in the drawers, and you've also got some tea towels and jugs and measuring jugs and colanders and stuff like that in the lower drawers. Okay, we might move the camera inside now so we can see some of more of the internal features. Right, here we have the control panel in the van. We've got switches for the lights in the van, to switch on and off the main lights, the light over the hob, the rear lights in the van, and this switch turns on our 12 volt indicator telling us how much charge there is in the auxiliary battery. That's fully charged at the moment. Anything over 12 volts is virtually fully charged. We've got a USB connection here if you want to charge your phones if you're not on electric hookup. This will allow you to charge from USB from the 12 volt auxiliary battery. If you are on hookup, you can also use the USB sockets on the actual main 240 volt sockets on your worktop. Just remember, you can't use your toaster or your electric kettle if you're not on hookup. You will have to use your gas kettle. We've got a carbon monoxide detector there, which obviously, if that starts beeping for any reason, you need to just find out why. I would suggest that you have some ventilation while you're cooking. We've got a sliding window that you can slide open and ventilate the hob area. You should have adequate ventilation when you're using the gas hob, and make sure that you don't have the gas hob ignited while you're asleep. Do not use that for a method of heating. We've got a full cab heater that you can use to heat the van. So the cab heater instructions are in the bottom drawer if you have any issues. If you have any issues at all with any of the controls, you can always give me a ring. But to turn the cab heater on, we just push the centre on off button and it will come on, and it will say, you hold it down a second and it will say coming on. Oops, turned it off again. There we are. So the cab heater will come on. The glow plug comes on first. There's a little red centre plug there that appears to come on, and that's the initialisation setting for the heater. It takes about 4 or 5 minutes to get up to full temperature when it ignites, and then you've got a setting between, using the buttons, up and down buttons, between 1, which is just a low heat that will just continuously run, up to 6, which is the highest heat. Most people tell us, in fact, that just 1 or 2 is adequate. It gets the van really, really hot. So that heater will start blowing. You'll hear it start to tick sometimes as the diesel heater ignites, and you may smell a little diesel smell if you're outside the van, and you'll hear the diesel heater running under the van. And that can run. You can use the diesel heater as much as you like. You can use it all night if you want to, but it will run. It's just starting to ignite now. It will run continuously from the diesel tank. It uses around, on number 1, which is the normal setting probably, that all you'll need in this size of cab, it'll run 10 hours on a litre of diesel. Okay, so yeah, 0.1 litres per hour, so 10 hours on a litre. So that's pretty efficient. We can just hear it ticking now, and that's the diesel heater igniting. Okay, we can now hear the diesel heater starting to ramp up, starting to blow. To turn the heater off, we just hold the middle button again until it says heater off, and then the diesel heater goes through around a 5-minute shutdown. It'll just slow down, and it will run for a few minutes just as it cools off, and then it will turn itself off. Right, in the end of the lower seating area, you have your toilet that slides out, a standard porta potty. To use it, you do have to open the oh, it's not locked down properly. Someone put the lid back on properly. There we are. To use it, you do have to open the flap there. Okay, that pulls out, and you've got your pump to pump in your wash to flush the toilet. So that's the toilet. We'll basically show you how to put the chemicals in when you come and pick the van up. We'll just show you that. But there's around the top contents is the flush, and once you lift the top of the toilet off, you can empty the lower reservoir into a suitable disposal area. That's your porta potty. The fluids are here. The blue fluid is for the bottom tank, 50 millilitres in the bottom tank. That just goes in with a litre or so of water, and then you've got your rinse fluid, which goes 50 millilitres again in the top tank with around 10 litres of water. So there's your 50 millilitres marked, and you can put that in the rinse tank at the top. So that's the rinse and your lower tank fluid, and they're there by the side of the toilet. That just slides back in and locks into place. Right, I'm now going to show you very briefly is your pull-out table. Obviously, if you're having a meal, you can slide that table out and use it and sit either side. So that's your pull-out table, and this is your third bed. Your third bed area. Your third bed area is made up. Doesn't take a second to make up. Lift the cushion off. That slides across and drops onto that there, and then we make up the bed area with the back cushions and the front cushion there, and we've got your 5'10", I think it is, maybe not quite 5'10". You've got your make-up single bed, okay, as well as your main double bed area. So that's fairly fast to make up. I'll just put it back. So the cushion goes on there. Lift the cushions off for a second, and that just slides back in and drops onto there, so it can't move, and our cushions go back to form your normal seating area. The bedding for that is in the top cupboard, and if you can use the bedding, and let us know if you've used the third bed. Your main bedding area has got just a throw on there and the sheet underneath, and we'll obviously ask you to provide your own duvet and any additional pillows that you need for the main bed area. Right, the last thing I'm going to show you in the rear of the camper is the actual skylight. Please make sure that you don't have this open whilst you're travelling. Obviously that needs to be shut whilst you're travelling. The two handles squeeze in, and you can open the area for ventilation. Some people like to have that open even when they're sleeping, give you some ventilation in the vehicle. Make sure it's locked down when you're going to travel in the van. It's something easy that you can forget, and make sure it's down if it's heavy rain, obviously. To go with that, there's two modes of operation really. You've got a fly screen if you've got it open in the good weather, to prevent flies entering the cab, and the other side you've got a blackout blind that you can black out at night if it's too light for you whilst you're sleeping. So that's the ventilation in the rear of the van, and the lift up ventilation. You have got two other lights that you can use in the rear of the cab when you're sitting in bed perhaps, and those are just switchable on each of the lamps individually. Right, I'll just quickly cover the removal of the bottle for our water storage. We've got that has to pull out. Please remember to put that in before you use the sink. Obviously, make sure that's in the bottle, otherwise you'll have a lot of water on the floor. To remove the bottles, the storage containers, you have to release that. This is the wastewater container, the grey water container. That's for obviously wastewater from the sink. And the second container is there's a collar that slides back to release that pipe, and then just remove the plug, and that container comes out as a whole. So that collar slides back to release, like a hosepipe connector, to release the pump pipe, and we've got the 12 volt plug. It's only 12 volts for our submersible pump, and you can fill that up from the water container. All I would suggest you do when you do this is that every time you fill up your main water container, empty your grey waste, and in that way you can never have a flood in the van with the wastewater overflowing. Hope that makes sense to you. If you've got any questions about this, obviously ask when you come to pick the van up. We will always welcome welcome any questions and show you any of the features again. So don't worry about asking again if you need to know anything else about the operation of the internals of the van. There's lots of things to remember, and we don't expect you to remember all of it, obviously. So please ask questions. We will be available at any time on your hire, so you can give us a ring if you've got any issues or questions that you need answers to. There is a handbook in the bottom drawer, and that will tell you some of the answers possibly to things like operation of the heater, and things like operation of the fridge, if you've got any questions about how that operates. Okay, that more or less concludes the internals of the van. You have got a pull-out curtain that pulls across the cab, and you've got blinds on each of the windows, obviously, that you can drop down at night for your privacy. Okay, I think that concludes the internals of the van. We will just have a look in the rear of the van and look at the seating and seats and your rear storage.